Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the Mermail Master coming back again to you guys from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel today with another video for you. So this is another video on my Elemental Hero deck, and in order to show you guys how this deck works, I thought I was going to do a little session where I draw test hands and then I make plays based on those hands. I do want to mention, guys, however, that, these are not going to be the most optimal plays. They're not going to be the plays that are going to get you the most card advantage or the most board position, because those would require Omni Heroes. But I just wanted to show you the abilities that the deck has to go into, various, like any number of Jaden's various elemental heroes that he has and that he runs in his deck. And it's really, really easy for you to summon some of your favorite monsters in this deck. And the idea is that, maybe some of these guys are not as competitively viable as, like, an Omni hero is, for instance, or, a masked hero, but that you're not summoning it for compatibility. You're summoning it to be able to win with something that you really like, and that's super fun. So I'm going to just shuffle up the deck here, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw 5 or 6 card test hands here. You do like to go second with this deck, just because there are very few traps, and it is kind of an OTK-centric build and geared around that. So shuffle that up right there, and we're going to pop 5 cards off the top of the deck. So right away, as I mentioned before, here we go. So we have 5 cards, Necroshade Fusion Reserve, E-Call, we have Hero City, and then we have Prisma. I can explain each one of these and then how to function around a hand that has these. So E-Emergency Call and Prisma are both very good cards right now. E-Emergency Call is actually a little bit better because you can fetch Stratos and you can fetch Blazeman. So, for instance, if you were to fetch Blazeman, you'd fetch Blazeman out of the deck with E-Emergency Call, grab him, summon Blazeman to the field, and then, search from your deck to your hand, Polymerization. Then I'm not going to shuffle this deck. I guess we can draw the 6th card off the top of that. Okay, we have a Bubble Man on the 6th card, so I'll put that right over there. 6th card off the top. You can grab like a Blazeman or a Stratos or something like that. Just something to function your plays. But we're going to do Blazeman because Blazeman allows us to grab a Polymerization. So now that we have Polymerization, we can utilize Polymerization right now, fuse the Blazeman and the Necroshade together, and yes, this is one of those first turn scenarios where you'll go for Nova Master. Nova Master is a super, super good card. It's the one that it's the Omni hero you'll go into, at least that I go into the most. But you can utilize Nova Master, especially during your turn or your battle phase or whatever, to get you a good amount of advantage. You can draw extra cards or whatever. But the real key to this play is you have 2 hero monsters now in your hand, and you have the Fusion Reserve. So you can set the Fusion Reserve, and assuming that your opponent, pops the Blazeman or whatever, at the very least, if they don't OTK you, which, you shouldn't in a casual match, but you can flip that Fusion Reserve and grab any hero that you're looking for. You can grab an Avion or a Burstinatrix, but let's go even further, guys. All right? Let's try and go for Elemental Hero Tempest. So, to start out, we're going to activate that effect, and we're going to add Elemental Hero Sparkman from our deck to our hand. Now, we're going to activate Fusion Reserve's other ability and add a Polymerization back. Now, we have 3 out of the requirements here. All we have to do is normal summon Prisma, reveal any elemental hero that lists Avion as a fusion material, and send that to the grave. So, just send Avion to the grave, activating Polymerization to fuse the Prisma counting as Avion with Sparkman and Bubbleman, and bada bing, bada boom. We have Elemental Hero Tempest, easy as pie. Yeah, granted, it did take 3 cards. Maybe going for absolute 0 was better, but nothing can beat the passion of getting an Elemental Hero Tempest out on the field. You did it in only 2 turns. In some instances, when you get all of the cards that you need, or you have any 2 of the original Jading Heroes, as well as a way to grab Blazeman or Polymerization, the plays can become even more pronounced. So, let's take everything back here. Your Omni Heroes are basically in here to help you facilitate getting things to where they need to be. So the Nova Master did 2 major things. It got your polymer, it summoned a monster that could get you some advantage, but it also got your Polymerization and your Necroshade to your graveyard. And with Necroshade in the graveyard, now if you top deck a Blade Edge or any kind of level 5 or higher monster, could be like an Honesty Neos or something like that, you can instantly summon that monster without having to wait for anything, which is super, super good. So I'm going to take those guys back, and we're going to do another shuffle test hand here. I'm going to show you guys just the shuffle procedure on this. And now we're going to draw our 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So an interesting setup of cards here. This is one of the hands that you don't really have a fusion spell. So, you are in a situation where you might be forced to like set a card, for instance, and wait for a turn. But you have Avian and Sparkman. All you need is, you can draw like any hero and pretty much have an opening as long as you can get a Polymerization to your hand. It is very easy to find, like, the Stratos or the Blazeman or whatever to get you what you need, but you can draw Burstinatrix, you can draw Wildheart, you can draw Blade Edge, you can draw Bubbleman, you can draw Clayman. Like, pretty much Avian and Sparkman are like 2 heroes that make any other hero in your deck live for a Jade Infusion. So, just for the heck of it, draw that 6th card there. In addition, now that you have Avian and Sparkman in your hand, but you don't have a Polymerization, you actually have something that's even better, and that is Get Your Game On. Get Your Game On was a recent addition to this deck, and it basically doubles the attack power of all of your elemental heroes in Neospatians, which means that even if you don't have a fusion spell, your Avian will go from a 1,000 attack monster to a 2,000 attack monster, and your Sparkman goes from 16 to 32. Add that in with the Mirror Force, and you can keep spitting out monsters that have very, very high attacks. So, you put these both out there with Get Your Game On, that's 3,200 attack, and then their defenses also rise commensurately with that card. So you can see instantly here how you're still able to stay in the game thanks to Get Your Game On, while also, setting yourself up so that eventually you may draw into a specific monster that you need. You have a Burstinatrix right there. Burstinatrix under Get Your Game On, believe it or not. You add that in with the Skyscraper. That will also fetch you, that can also run over a Blue Eyes. Burstinatrix plus Get Your Game On plus Skyscraper is Blue Eyes. Beat over that Blue Eyes. So, very, very cool card. So that is the second hand that I'm going to go over. And as you guys can see, these hands are completely random. So I'm going to shuffle again. And we'll see what we come up with this time. So now we have Burstinatrix, Bubbleman, UFO Roid, Blazeman, and E-Call. Look at that hand. That is a fantastic hand, guys. This is a hand that can get you pretty much any fusion monster you want. You can immediately notice we have at least 2 fusion material monsters that can go for us for anything. And we also have a way to grab Polymerization, and as to add even more sweet to this pot, we have Emergency Call. If we're going second, we'll put this card off to the side, but look at that. It's another E-Call. Any hero you want, you can pretty much go for it at this point. You can grab an Avian and Burstinatrix for Flame Wingman. You can grab Avian and Bubbleman for that. You can also do Burstinatrix and Bubbleman straight out. Burstinatrix and Clayman, Bubbleman and Clayman, and then you have UFO Roid over here. So you can use that E-Call to grab, for instance, Blade Edge. Blade Edge plus UFO Roid equals UFO Roid Fighter. Another really, really great card. Awesome for running over your opponent's Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragons, which you have no way to out otherwise. Just so many options with this hand. You can, of course, go again for anything that requires, like, either one of those heroes. But let's start out and see what we can get. You can have a, some different kind of plays here. So, I guess we'll start out by summoning Elemental Hero Blazeman. Blazeman's effect is going to grab us Polymerization from our deck to our hand. And now, we can activate the effect and fuse any one of these monsters. So, for instance, if we fuse Bubbleman and Burstinatrix together, we can get one of Jaden's favorite heroes and a monster people always get surprised to see, and that's Steam Healer. You can just get Steam Healer right out like that. In addition, if you had the 6 cards in your hand, if you were doing, for instance, Bubbleman and, any one of these in UFO Roid, you could summon the UFO Roid Fighter. But since you have 2 E-Calls, and you have both Bubbleman and Burstinatrix in your hand, assuming we put off UFO Roid to the side, since he'll play nice with any warrior, but you have Bubbleman and Burstinatrix, we can do something even more interesting, guys, with this hand. So, let's use the 2 E-Calls in our hand, send them to the graveyard, and add 2 Elemental Hero monsters from our deck to our hand. And the 2 heroes I'm thinking about grabbing right now are none other than Elemental Heroes Avion and Clayman. That's right. Now with this hand, you have all of the setup here, guys, to go for, you guessed it, Elemental Hero Electrum. By using Polymerization, you can grab Avion, Burstinatrix, Bubbleman, and Clayman from your hand. Send them all to the graveyard in order to special summon the almighty Elemental Hero Electrum. In this deck, I have summoned, as I said, Electrum hundreds and hundreds of times. Most of the time I do it from my graveyard, but there are the few instances where you can summon it from your hand. Granted, yes, it is a -5. It does take up a lot of resources to do, but it's Elemental Hero Electrum. You've got to summon this card whenever you have the chance. So that is another one of the hand combos, and you can see all of the, all of the stuff that I explained coming into factor here. Is just every single monster has a place in creating the fusions that you want. But even now, you don't have to just go for Electrum. You can have a hand for, Sparkman or Clayman. This is the dream combo right here. 2 E-Calls and a Polymerization. This fetches you, aside from any of the +2 fusion monster, this fetches you every single one of Jaden's fusion monsters. And that is a huge, huge play. So definitely really good to have that E-Call in there. So guys, let's see if we can do like maybe 1 or 2 more hands, just to showcase to you, the power behind it. So I'm gonna do another shuffle right here. Just put that stuff back. And what are we gonna have for another hand? So again, this one is, it's kind of one of those other hands that you can get. Not really the best hand, but if you keep getting off of the top of your deck, or you're able to stall enough, you can have an Elemental Hero Prisma, who can then send a Necroshade to your graveyard and possibly revive it back. Basically, like, a lot of this is, it's all a matter of, helping to get those, like, getting up to the power plays that you need. And the rest of the deck has to function and be able to stall and be able to stop your opponent from doing things. And that's exactly the purpose that hand had. So we can go for another one here. This is also a really good looking hand. Just keeps getting better and better right there. So now that is another awesome, awesome hand. Whatever our 6th card ends up being, it's another E-Call. With 5 or 6 cards, you can do whatever you need to do. If you want to set that fusion reserve, go right ahead and do it, because E-Emergency Call is going to kick in. you can grab Blazeman from your hand. Blazeman will, of course, then grab Polymerization. The E-Calls are great because they can fetch you either the missing hero that you need or that Polymerization through Blazeman. Not a lot of people run Effect Veiler. Some people do run that Ash, though, so you guys got to watch out for that. But hopefully if you're playing casual matches, you know, you're not going to really come in too much contact with it. But as you can see here, we'll just put that E-Call off to the side. We have already gotten back some effort from that Blazeman. So that Blazeman helped us to get our Polymerization. And now we're going to go for one of my favorite heroes here, one of the most interesting heroes in the deck. And that hero is going to be, activating E Emergency Call, we're going to be grabbing Elemental Hero Blade Edge from our deck to our hand. Now, through Polymerization, we can fuse Blade Edge and Wild Heart together in order to bring about Elemental Hero Wild Edge. So here he is, guys. Elemental Hero Wild Edge is a really, really awesome card. He has a lot of function for a variety of different plays. And one of the biggest things that he can do is he can attack all of the monsters your opponent controls once a piece. Now, if you noticed, we also drew our Get Your Game On spell card, which as you guys know, can double the attack power of any elemental hero or Neospatian monster on the field. So we're just going to activate that. And the more monsters your opponent has, the more this is going to hurt, because Wild Edge goes from 2,600 to 52. Similarly, Blazeman goes from a 1,200 attack, not so strong monster, to a 2,400 beater. And you'd be surprised how much handy that can come in. 5,600 on 3 monsters is very, very big, and 24 is big enough to close out the game. So you can see the combo potential that all of this has. Now, let's assume that you play this hand even further. You already have that Fusion Reserve, which, as we recommended, extend those plays. So, assuming either you have these cards on the field for the next turn, or let's just take them off so that we can create as clean a field as possible. We are trying to go for the Jaden heroes, so none of the monsters that we sent to the grave will really be more useful than the ones already in there by that effect. So if we draw for turn, we can grab like Captain Gold, for instance, or what we can do is we can use Fusion Reserve's ability. Fusion Reserve will allow us to fetch back a Polymerization, but also any elemental hero we want from our deck. If we had fused Sparkman and Necroshade together, for instance, we could have used that Fusion Reserve to fetch a Blade Edge and normal summon it right away. However, now what we're going to do is we are going to fetch UFO Roid. That's right. So this is one of the only cards in the deck that can search UFO Roid. The other one, of course, being Prisma. But since we've drawn into a Captain Gold here, and maybe we don't want to really use the Skyscraper or whatever, we don't really have anything to use it with as of right now. So we're going to, I just want to take this opportunity to showcase to you another of the plays that this can make. UFO Roid, of course, is, it's a card that's super based on, like, my own stuff. Like, I really like UFO Roid. So, it's just a funny thing, and it's so easy to put in this deck that it seamlessly fits in here as just another one of the cards that you can use as a fusion material. And yes, maybe it's a little worse than the other warriors. It's just basically a normal monster that you can use for fusion. However, you can activate Polymerization, sending the 2,100 attack monster to your graveyard, the hero monster, as well as UFO Roid, and special summon UFO Roid Fighter, one of the big cards from Cyrus and Jaden's duel against the Paradox Brothers. This card was only summoned once in the anime, and is not really, like, one of the shining examples of something that Jaden used regularly. But the fact that we could, the fact that UFO Roid and UFO Roid Fighter can fit so wonderfully in this deck, and this card actually has incredible utility and use for getting over massive monsters. He gains attack and defense equal to the combined total attack of the monsters you use for a summon. So 1,200 plus 2,100 makes him a 3,300 attack monster. Even better is when you can use like a Blade Edge or some kind of fusion monster together with Elemental Hero Prisma, and so that UFO Roid fighter will get the 1700 from Prisma in place of the since Prisma counts as UFO Roid, can get the 1700 from Prisma in place of the 1200 that UFO Roid currently is at. So another really, really great play there. You also have that Miracle Fusion for follow-up plays. Do note that UFO Roid Fighter is not a hero, so you can't use it. But if you have here, like for instance, Skyscraper 2 Hero City, or you draw again into something else, you have easy access to a play for Miracle Fusion either into an Omni hero, or if you were to draw into, for instance, like a Sparkman or something like that, or a Necroshade, you could easily use any one of those cards within the monsters in your graveyard to go for even more plays. So, now guys, we're going to do one final test hand here. Let's hope that it's a good one, one that can really showcase to you how the deck works. But a lot of these hands right now are really, really great at really showing, you know, the power that the deck has. So, all right. So here we go. So this is another awesome hand, guys, for a lot of different reasons. So first, starting out, we have that Future Fusion here. Future Fusion is another really, really good card. This was actually one that I pulled myself. You can utilize Future Fusion depending on the play style that you have, but basically it's a great way to summon out your Divine Neoses, to summon out Elemental Hero Core, but mostly to get your Elemental Heroes such as Necroshade to the graveyard. So, in the original anime, you could just send the materials right away, but in this one, you have to wait a turn to send those materials. So the idea is that you want to stay around until the turn where you can send them. You have a number of different monsters that can help you to sort of accomplish this goal here. One of the cards that you do have is a Hero Lives. So what you can do in this instance is activate a Hero Lives. A Hero Lives will fetch any Elemental Hero level 4 or lower from your deck by paying half your life points. Elemental Hero Stratos is a perfect example of that. Stratos can then fetch you Blazeman. Normal summon Blazeman, activate Blazeman's effect, and pretty much add a polymerization from your deck to your hand. Now, you have a polymerization play for next turn. So, you have 2 out of 3 of the monsters that you need for a polymerization play. This, I think, is a perfect last hand to showcase to you guys, you know, the power here. Blazeman and Stratos are both on the field. They're 2 monsters. If your friends insist on playing link rules, you can activate. You can just link Blazeman and Stratos together and go for extra hero Wonder Diver if you want it off of that play. That is also something that you can do. So, you know, keeping going with that kind of aspect, if we have Stratos and Blazeman on the field and they're destroyed, you know, you want to make sure that Future Fusion does survive. And in the instance the Future Fusion does survive, I'll show you the kind of play that you can do. So, hold on here. So we'll draw for turn. Okay, really, really good. We have E-Emergency Call here. So we have a nice 5-card hand, and then Future Fusion will trigger, allowing me to send monsters to the graveyard for a fusion monster in my extra deck. So just for the sake of continuity here, I'm going to showcase you guys the fusion we're going to be summoning, and that is Elemental Hero God Neos. That's right, guys. Divine Neos is also in this extra deck, and you can go to him based on the cards in this deck. So now we can send 5 monsters to the graveyard, including 1 hero, 1 Neos, and 1 Neospatian. So we're going to send Honesty Neos. We're going to send Neospatian Grand Mole. Now we're going to send Necroshade. And if we had like an E-Call or something of that nature, we could send that as well. Sometimes I like to send a Clayman. And then finally, the monster I love to send the most is 1 copy of Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. When Shadow Mist gets sent to the graveyard, I get to search any Elemental Hero monster I want from my deck to my hand. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now, guys. I am going to search from my deck to my hand 1 copy of Elemental Hero Avion. So, now we have a hand that has Avion and Burstinatrix in it. And you guys know what that means. Now that we have Avion, Burstinatrix, and Polymerization, we can activate that effect, sending both of these guys to the graveyard in order to summon forth the mighty elemental hero Flame Wingman. So really, really awesome elemental hero monster right here, guys. Very, very cool. One of Jaden's best monsters, and you see how easy it was to summon that card. Flame Wingman has a powerful special ability that allows you to inflict the damage equal to the attack power of the monster that you're attacking over as damage to your opponent's life points, the original attack. That's how he used to defeat Crawler in the other episode. But since we also have that Get Your Game On, which I seem to be drawing a lot more right now than I usually do. I only run one of these in the deck, believe it or not. But you can utilize that Get Your Game On, and that will double the attack of your Flame Wingman, allowing you to beat over larger monsters and inflict more damage. So, assuming that you have, that play, for instance, depending on what you get off the top of your deck, you can continue to push forward on specific plays. But you can look here to see, the level of kind of stuff that you're going to pull out of the deck. One of the big things that I like to point out, again, is like a Miracle Fusion or a Polymerization. Because, having that, for instance, you do have E-Emergency Call, which can grab you into an Elemental Hero Sparkman. As you know, Sparkman plus Flame Wingman together, whether they're in your graveyard or on your field, can equal you out one copy of the Shining Flare Wingman. Another awesome, awesome card, guys. And this guy gains 300 attack for every single elemental hero in your graveyard. So, of course, your Sparkman and your Flame Wingman will be banished. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 heroes, or 8 heroes minus, of course, the Grand Mole who's in here. Thanks to the fact that you have that Future Fusion play. You have 8 heroes in here, so that's 2,400 attack, which means he goes up to 49. Now, both that attack boost as well as the other one are continuously applied to the effect of Get Your Game On, which boosts him up to almost 10,000 attack. I think 9,800 attack power is what your Shining Flare Wingman can get to. With this play. So it just ends up being like an incredible amount of damage that you can put on the board thanks to, heroes. And I will note one last thing, of course, is that now that you used Avion and Burstinatrix, you also sent Clayman to the graveyard. You can go into pretty much any fusion that you want. All you would need is the Bubble Man, and you've got an Electrum play right here for your banish zone. So it's so easy. And you also have Necroshade in here. I always like to send Necroshade because, as you guys saw, the next couple of cards off the top of that deck were those Blade Edges. And those Blade Edges would not really be too useful if you didn't already have that Necroshade in there. But now that you have that Necroshade, you can summon a Blade Edge right out on the field. That's a 2,600 beater under any normal circumstances. And, that's just really, really good for beating over your opponent. You're not always going to have that Get Your Game On out. And, chances are, since on account of its rarity, it is a very rare card that you want to have high attack monsters even if you don't have that card. And Blade Edge really is one of the linchpins of your strategy in the main deck. You're utilizing Blade Edge a lot along with his fusions. It is why I run 2 in here, because he's just so good at being a big beater, being a big beefy monster that can really give your opponent a loop or a run for their money. So definitely, there's a ton of really awesome combos here, but I think that this video gives you kind of a very, very good idea of, what test hands are like and how specific combos in the deck work. Getting you to some of your most favorite elemental hero monsters without really sacrificing too much on card economy. That's primarily what the focus of this was to showcase to you guys, that Jading heroes are possible to be built. They are possible to be not only fun, but also decently competitive in terms of an archetype of monsters. But, you know, depending on what you go for here, we've, you know, gone for a ton of monsters. You saw opportunities for us to go for every single card in this extra deck. You could have gone for any single one of these monsters with any of the cards that we pulled out. And I think that is like a testament to just the ability of the deck to be able to get you to where you need to be, or where more likely that you want to be. Summoning these monsters, this is probably one of my favorite fusion decks of all time. And I was never really a fan of GX before, but you know, this sort of got me into it, as I mentioned, that you really have the opportunity to feel like you're in the anime. And, you know, you can just forget about everything when you're playing this deck, because it is so, you know, it's a deck that helps you to put, you know, your own life, and for everyone else to put, you know, all their worries on the back burner, to believe for a second that you can make the impossible possible, such as with like these guys, for instance. So, you know, I love the awesome plays that this deck can pull out, and I really, really hope that you guys are interested in possibly, you know, putting this deck together and really trying to utilize it and work with it to the best of your ability. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry for the length. I wanted to really, you know, go through and show you some random test hands. So it is very much of a random video that showcases to you guys the power that plays have, and the power that you can, you know, sort of unlock with this deck. And do note, you know, that not necessarily having every single one of these cards, like for instance, Get Your Game On, which is only a play extender, but is not necessarily a combo starter, which means, you know, even without that card, you can build a fantastically fun elemental hero deck that can really take the heat out of your opponent. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe below. Tell me what you guys thought of it. Tell me if you want me to do another one of these, you know, showing more specific combos or whatnot. I'd be more than happy to do that. But yeah, if you guys liked it, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe on the Teen Time Riders YouTube channel. And this has been the Mermail Master, and I'm signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.